Oren Vance had faced plasma burns, decompression hazards, and Draxel boarding parties, but nothing in his extensive service record had prepared him for an afternoon in Medical Base 7 trying to hide an inexplicable and growing problem. The day had started simply enough. Combat drills with his strike squad had gone smoothly until a rogue training drone sent a jagged shard of alloy into his forearm. It was nothing more than a surface wound, annoying, but routine. All Oren wanted was a quick antiseptic wash, a bandage, and to get to his tactical briefing on time. Protocol requires treatment to be documented, the young med tech mumbled without looking up from his datapad. Dr. Therrell will see you shortly. Oren sighed, flexing his uninjured hand. The bleeding had already stopped, and Admiral Koran was not known for his patience when officers arrived late. Then the exam room door hissed open. And in walked someone who was most certainly not Dr. Therrell. The newcomer's azure skin shimmered faintly under the sterile lights, her silver-white hair cascading over the shoulders of a dark, form-fitting uniform. The insignia marked her as a Sayari Medical Corps specialist, but the neckline seemed less regulation than he'd expected. Lieutenant Commander Oren Vance, she said, her voice carrying a melodic lilt that made his translator work to keep up. That's me, he replied, suddenly aware of the sweat from training clinging to his shirt. And you're not Dr. Therrell. I'm Lyra Soren, research specialist. Dr. Therrell was called into surgery, so I'll be treating you today. Her smile was warm, but her turquoise eyes sparkled with something almost mischievous. She examined his arm, her touch cool and gentle. Minor injury, she murmured. But since you're here, would you consider participating in a clinical trial? We've developed a regenerative serum, heals wounds in minutes rather than days. Oren frowned. Approved? Final phase of human testing, she said breezily, already preparing a hypospray. Perfectly safe. He checked the chrono. If it saved him time, fine. Do it. The hiss of the injector was followed by a spreading coolness in his arm, then warmth, pooling in his core and flowing rapidly downward. Oren's eyes widened. What the hell? Lyra's own eyes went wide, and her skin darkened toward indigo. Oh no, that was the wrong vial. What did you do? Oren hissed, shifting uncomfortably as the cause of his distress became undeniable. That compound is experimental, she whispered. It's not designed for humans. Before he could reply, the door chime sounded. Lyra shoved a datapad into his hands. Hide it. Captain Reddick strode in. Vance, briefing's been moved up. Admiral needs you now. Everything all right here? Just finishing up, sir, Oren said, forcing a steady tone while keeping the datapad firmly in place. Once the captain left, his voice dropped to a growl. How long will this last? 6 to 8 hours, she admitted. Oren shut his eyes briefly. I have a tactical briefing in 5 minutes. I'll help you through it, she promised, a faint smile tugging at her lips despite her blush. In the corridor, datapad held strategically in front of him, Oren listened as her voice came through his neural comm. I've isolated the cause, it's triggering your hormonal pathways, boosting blood flow in targeted regions. Skip the lecture, he muttered. Just fix it. Her suggestions grew less helpful as the meeting began. First option, vigorous cardio. Second, enzymatic transfer from a compatible donor. Third. Not happening, he hissed under his breath. What's not happening, Commander? Admiral Koran asked sharply. The Draxel breakthrough, sir, Oren replied without missing a beat, outlining a counter-strategy to flank their forces at Orden Prime. The briefing dragged on, Lyra feeding medical updates into his ear with playful undertones. When it ended, Admiral Koran gave Oren direct command of the counteroffensive. He barely made it out of the room before Lyra's voice returned, "Meet me in Research Lab 3. Privately." 5 minutes later, she explained the options again: sex, oral stimulation, or extreme exercise. "Those are the only ways to break it down quickly," she said clinically, though the faint blush on her cheeks betrayed her. They settled on the least compromising choice, the officer's gym. 20 minutes into a treadmill sprint, Lyra watched his vitals. "Minimal change," she admitted. "In my species, physical attraction can accelerate metabolism." Before Oren could respond, the ship-wide alert blared: "Security alert. Possible Draxel infiltrator in Sector 7. The thud in the corridor outside drew them both still. Lyra's whisper was taut: "They can sense heat, and certain physiological states." "Perfect," Oren muttered. Another thud. Closer. She met his eyes. "There's one option left: passion masks biosigns." "For tactical reasons," he said. "Purely tactical," she agreed, just as their lips met, heat flooding through the serum's effects, the danger outside forgotten for the moment. The kiss was supposed to be a cover, nothing more than a shield against the Draxel's predatory sensors. But the moment Oren's lips touched Lyra's, the serum's lingering heat collided with something far deeper, a surge of connection so sudden it almost stole his breath. Her mouth was cool but yielding, her fingers threading into his hair as if she'd been waiting for this moment. The scent of her, spiced and alien yet strangely familiar, wrapped around him. Somewhere beyond the door, the dragging sound stopped. Silence pressed in. "Your heart rate is climbing," Lyra murmured against his lips, her voice a husky blend of clinical observation and something else. "The compound's breaking down." "Professional opinion," he whispered. "Entirely professional," she replied, though the sparkle in her eyes betrayed her amusement.
The noises outside faded, but neither of them moved away. Instead, they shifted toward the padded floor mats, uniforms yielding to impatient hands. Oren discovered that the pale glow on her skin wasn't static, it pulsed and swirled with intricate, luminescent patterns, responding to his touch. "Your species is remarkable," he said, tracing the glowing designs across her shoulder. "You're warm," she countered, her voice low, and incredibly distracting. What began as tactical necessity slid into something deeper, something that had nothing to do with the serum. For a moment, they were simply two beings seeking comfort and connection in the middle of a galaxy at war. When it was over, they lay together on the mats, the heat of their breathing mixing in the still air. Lyra propped herself on one elbow, scanning him with a medical device. "Levels are nearly normal. The serum's metabolized." Oren let out a breath. Perfect timing. "Now, what about the Draxel?" Before she could answer, his comm clicked. "False alarm," a voice reported. "Maintenance droid malfunction." He laughed, shaking his head. So much for tactical necessity. Her smile was slow and knowing. "Better safe than sorry, Commander." Moments later, they were back in uniform. Oren headed to the launch bay, still trying to focus on the mission ahead. 6 sleek interceptors waited, the strike team prepping for an assault on the Draxel vessels near the Vera system. He was halfway through the tactical briefing when Dr. Therrell intercepted him, all 4 of the Sayari doctor's eyes narrowing. "My assistant administered an unauthorized compound to you earlier. Do you understand what that means?" "I understand it was experimental," Oren said carefully. Therrell's voice dropped. "It was a bonding catalyst, used in Sayari mating rituals. Followed by intimacy, it forges a neurochemical connection, permanent." Oren kept his face neutral, though his pulse spiked. "You're saying we're bonded? Equivalent to your human concept of marriage," Therrell said. "Only far stronger." Before Oren could respond, the launch alarm blared. "We'll discuss this later," he said, moving toward his fighter. The strike team launched into the starfield. Oren's mind should have been on formation vectors, but a flicker of turquoise crossed his vision, followed by Lyra's voice, inside his head. Oren. He jerked the controls slightly. Lyra? How? The bond. I can feel you. He swallowed hard. We'll talk after. Wait. Look starboard, beyond the moon's shadow. Acting on instinct, he adjusted his sensors, and found 3 cloaked Draxel vessels lying in wait. An ambush. Strike team, break. Enemy at 227 Mark 43. The squad peeled away just as energy torpedoes ripped through their previous position. Lyra's mental voice was calm but urgent. I can sense their energy patterns. Use it. They moved as one, his tactical instinct blending with her heightened perception. The battle became a dance, every enemy maneuver anticipated, every strike delivered with precision. When a torpedo clipped Oren's starboard engine, he fought the spin, feeling Lyra's while reinforcing his own. Together, they steadied the fighter and brought it down in a rough but controlled landing on the moon's surface. You alive? She asked through the bond. Thanks to you. He sent the rest of the team on without him, sitting in the cracked cockpit, heart pounding. The reality was inescapable, they weren't just connected, they were now something far more dangerous, and far more powerful, than either of them had intended. The rescue shuttle arrived within the hour, but by the time Oren stepped onto the Horizon's deck, the mood had shifted from battlefield triumph to political tension. Lyra was waiting near the landing bay, her skin a paler shade of azure than usual, and Dr. Therill stood beside her with the pinched look of someone who knew trouble was coming. The trouble wore ceremonial robes. The Sayari diplomatic vessel Celestial Current has altered course to intercept us, Therill said grimly. The bonding council is aboard. Lyra's pulse spiked through the link. They'll try to take me back. Sever the bond. Aloud, she said, if they invoke purification protocols, you won't see me again, and I might not survive intact. Before Oren could respond, Admiral Koran summoned him to his office. The Admiral was pacing when Oren arrived, the stars of the Vera system glowing beyond the viewport. Commander, Koran began without preamble, the Sayari High Council has filed a formal demand for Specialist Soren's return. Apparently, you've entered into something called a life bond. Oren kept his tone level. Sir, the bonding catalyst was given in error. We didn't know the consequences. Koran's eyes narrowed. And yet this bond let you spot cloaked Draxel vessels no Alliance sensors could detect. That's a tactical advantage I can't ignore. But I also can't openly defy a Galactic Council member's cultural law. He paused, then added, there is one loophole, the trial of shared valor. Prove the bond's worth in combat, and the Sayari must recognize it. Oren felt a spark of hope, instantly echoed in Lyra's thoughts. If we win, they can't touch us. The Celestial Current docked hours later, its hull rippling with bioluminescent patterns. In the reception bay, Oren stood at Admiral Koran's side as 3 elongated Sayari elders emerged. The one in the center radiated authority, High Elder Vorian. We come seeking the unauthorized bond pair, Vorian announced. I invoke the trial of shared valor, Oren said firmly. The elders reacted with visible surprise, their skin shifting in alarmed ripples. After a tense pause, Vorian inclined his head. Bring forth the female. We will assess the bond. Lyra stepped forward. The elders formed a half-circle around her, long fingers hovering near her head. Patterns raced across their skin, synchronized in a hypnotic rhythm. Then, abruptly, they recoiled. This bond is impossible, Vorian murmured. Oren stepped up. Care to elaborate? The elders repeated the examination on him. This time, their reaction was sharper, almost fearful. The resonance of duality, Vorian said, his voice low. A myth from before the sundering. A Sayari united with another species in perfect neural harmony, capable of feats lost for 50,000 years. Dr. Therrell's eyes widened. If true, they could detect, and disrupt, Draxel hive coordination across light years. Vorian's gaze settled on Orin. But such resonance must be completed to awaken its full potential. The ritual of completion is required. Through the bond, Lyra's embarrassment flickered. That's an intimate process. And very public in its symbolism. Aloud, Orin asked, and if we complete it? You could dismantle the Draxel's neural network entirely, Vorian said. But the ancient texts warn, the effort may destroy the bond. Or you. Admiral Karan's expression was granite. We need that edge. The Draxel fleet is massing for a strike on Orden Prime. Decide quickly. When the chamber emptied, Orin and Lyra stood close, their thoughts blending. We could run, she suggested quietly. Disappear beyond Alliance space. He met her gaze. And leave millions to die. Her fingers tightened on his. Then we find another way. Not destruction, transformation. Hope bloomed in him, cautious but real. A third path. When they presented the idea, Vorian was skeptical, but Admiral Karan approved. If you can rewrite the Draxel hive without killing the bond, do it. Preparations began at once. Medical Base 7 was transformed into a ceremonial chamber, Sayari crystal light casting turquoise patterns over the walls. Ritual markings traced Orin's chest and arms, mirrored in swirling designs on Lyra's skin. Just before they began, Karan spoke quietly to him. Commander, if the strain burns the bond out, you'll lose her. Forever. I know, Orin said. And he meant it, not that he was ready to lose her, but that he understood the stakes. The Sayari chants began low and resonant, filling Medical Base 7 with a vibration Orin felt in his bones. The luminescent markings on his and Lyra's skin pulsed in time with the rhythm, each beat drawing them closer, not just physically, but mentally. They stood face to face, foreheads touching, hands intertwined. Through the bond, Orin felt Lyra's focus sharpening, her mind a steady flame beside his own. Ready? She asked. Always, he replied. The moment their lips met, the world narrowed to sensation and awareness. The bond expanded, erasing the boundary between them. Orin felt her heartbeat as his own, saw through her eyes, thought her thoughts. Together, they reached beyond the walls of the horizon. The Draxel hive mind lay ahead, a web of cold, pulsing light stretching through space. Its threads were taut with shared instinct, every ship moving as one. The ancient protocol dictated a destructive pulse to shatter the network, but Orin and Lyra had already agreed, they wouldn't destroy, they would rewire. Shift the frequency here, Lyra thought, guiding his focus to a nexus point. And here, he added, altering the resonance like adjusting a tuning fork. The effort was immense, pain lanced through their shared mind. He felt her strain, and she felt his. Stay with me, he urged as the hive began to resist, its will pressing back like a tide. Not letting go, she replied, her determination bolstering his own. With one final surge, they released the modified pattern into the hive. The ripple spread outward, altering the neural pathways of every Draxel it touched. Rigid obedience gave way to awareness, individual thought sparking like new stars in a dark sky. Confusion followed, then a strange calm. The attack halted. The Draxel fleet hung motionless in space. Slowly, Orin and Lyra withdrew from the expanded state, the bond settling into something steadier, less overwhelming but somehow deeper. Admiral Karan's voice cut through the post-ritual haze. The Draxel have ceased hostilities. No sign of coordinated movement. They're free, Lyra said softly. They're choosing not to fight. High Elder Vorian regarded them with open astonishment. You have done what our ancestors could not. The bond endures, and the enemy is transformed. 3 months later, Orin stood at the viewport of the Alliance, Sayari Joint Vessel Resilience, the first ship of its kind, tasked with establishing relations with the newly awakened Draxel. The faint presence of Lyra's mind brushed his, constant now, like the warmth of sunlight. She joined him, tracing the faint ritual markings on his forearm. "Hard to believe it all started with an accidental injection," she teased. "And an awkward moment in Medical Bay 7, he said, smirking. "Tell me something, Lyra, was it really an accident?" Her turquoise eyes widened in mock innocence. "Are you suggesting I mixed serums on purpose, caused a diplomatic crisis, and nearly rewrote interstellar history just to get your attention?" "When you put it like that," he began. She smiled, leaning in. Completely ridiculous. Their kiss was slower this time, unhurried. The galaxy could wait. And that's how a simple training injury spiraled into the most improbable turn of Oren Vance's career, a bond that began with an embarrassing side effect, weathered a battlefield, and ended up reshaping the fate of an entire species. What started as an awkward encounter in Medical Bay 7 became a partnership tested by war, politics, and prophecy. Against the odds, Oren and Lyra not only survived the Sayari's scrutiny and the Draxel's hostility, but also proved that unity could be forged where no one thought it possible. Their choice to seek transformation instead of destruction saved millions, avoided the loss of their bond, and opened a new chapter in interstellar diplomacy. It also left the Alliance and Sayari with a unique advantage, two bonded officers whose shared instincts and perceptions might be the galaxy's best defense against whatever threats lay ahead. Life aboard the Resilience was quieter now, but not dull. The Draxel were still adapting to individuality, and there were countless misunderstandings to smooth out. Oren and Lyra took those missions together, partly because the bond made them more effective, but mostly because they wanted to. For Oren, the bond wasn't just a tactical asset, it was a lifeline. A reminder that even in the cold vastness of space, connections could form in the most unlikely ways. And for Lyra, it was proof that mistakes, if faced with courage and creativity, could lead to something extraordinary. So if you enjoyed this story of unexpected alliances, ancient prophecies, and galaxy-shaping choices, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and share it with fellow sci-fi fans. Who knows? Maybe next time, we'll uncover another tale where a single decision changes the course of history, just like it did for Oren and Lyra.